You are now listening to the most talked about blog talk radio station in the universe. Walk in His ways, Impact Voice Radio. Be prepared to have your mind stimulated, your spirit elevated in ways you couldn't even imagine. Introducing your host and the mastermind behind this unforgettable experience, Furman Jackson Jr. You will not be disappointed. Let's go!
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition. I want to call this Redemption Tuesday. We have a very special guest tonight. Even though all the episodes have been very special, positive, but tonight is Redemption Tuesday, where the very special guest shared his testimony from being homeless, from being on drugs, did time in prison. Now he's a brand new man and want to show the world that God is real. And I'm very excited about this tonight's episode, that what will be said tonight will really minister to your heart, will really penetrate your heart and your soul and your mind, that no matter where you come from, no matter what you did, we know that 2,000 years ago, Christ came. He redeemed us from the curse, redeemed us from our sins, set us free, that we have access back to the Father again. And that's what Impact Voice is all about, walking His ways. When we say walking His way, we talking about walking in the ways of God. You read your Bible, you're a Bible scholar, you're a Bible believer. He instructs us to walk in His ways. We are made in the image of God. Men, we are made in the image of God. And made His image in His likeness. The enemy took that from us. He wants us to realize not knowing who we are. He wants us to be labeled as being alcoholics, drunks, fornicators, you name it. But once you know your identity, nothing in hell can stop that. But tonight is a very special episode. A guy I've been known for quite some time now. I knew him then to where he's at today. Every time I look at him, I see God's hand all over him. I see the blessings upon God upon his life. Every time I see this man on social media, he encouraged me more to step my game up. Iron sharpen iron. But we'll get up more into the Q&A tonight with my man Zoe, my brother in Christ. But we're going to kick it off with Kenny, Primetime Will. I know he got the latest sports news. Also, I want to give a big shout out to our Dallas Cowboys. Tonight is Hard Knocks. It's at 9 o'clock Eastern. So we're going to be watching that. I'm going to be watching that after the podcast. I want to see what that Zeke going to be talking about. CeeDee Lamb, Parsons, and them boys going to do it this year. Big shouts out to the Dallas Cowboys. Also, I know Emo's a hater, of course, but that's another broadcast. So Kenny, kick it off with the latest news.
I really am.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing on this wonderful evening? I think by now you've noticed stars, everything around me. I need to sit up just a little bit more. It's Cowboy time. It's football season. So rep your favorite team now. And we're going to talk about different things around the league. A lot of big things been going on in the NFL, in the NBA. Sports world is going crazy, but everybody is happy that football is now officially back. Preseason is underway. Season is getting ready to get kicked off. A lot of injuries, a lot of people being released from the injury report. It is getting big. So I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome everybody from the sound of my voice, from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Mobile, Alabama, Dallas, Texas, all through the sound of my voice. Welcome. You have now entered the Prime Zone. I am your host, Kenny Primetime Williams, and thank you for joining us on this Walk This Way podcast. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to the NBA. We're not done with the NBA yet. Every day the NBA gives you news that excites you, or you can be like, as an I see in your heart, you sell these so things that make you go, So, about Dallas Mavericks guard Luka Doncic have just signed a 5-year deal worth $207 million contract extension. That's a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. And I totally think that he deserves it. He's well deserving of it. He's turned that team around, and with new coach Jason Kidd coming next year, I'm looking for bigger and better things with the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic on his extension. So big up to Luka on that. Not only that, the Portland Trailblazers guard C.J. McCollum is now the Players Basketball Association president. He succeeds the 2-year term Chris Paul, who held it down, and now we have a new president to speak for the players. Go to commissioner to go to different trials on the players' behalf. So congratulations to C.J. McCollum from the Portland Trailblazers. I think he's going to do an awesome job, man. Big ups to Chris Paul for doing a great job the 2 years that he did reign as well. Now, Clippers have reported that Kawhi Leonard guarantees to re-sign back with them. A lot of speculation after Kawhi opted out of his deal and wanted to see where he was going to end up, where he was going to go. You know, when it comes to Kawhi Leonard, you never know what team he'll end up to the very last day. So he has been told that Kawhi Leonard will resign back with the Clippers on next year. Now, the Lakers have had the signings this week. The Lakers have had a big transition, a big addition added to their team. Today was signing day, broadcasting live with the signing of Dwight Howard, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. These guys are so excited to be in LA. They are ready to begin. Russell Westbrook said today in the press conference that he's here to make LeBron's job easier. I like that type of attitude, and I think the Lakers are going to be something to really, really be a good deal with. So we're going to look for big things from them next year in basketball season, and we're going to continue to look up and see everybody use it, root for their best team. Sorry about that. Now, let's go to the NFL. What we all here for? The NFL. NFL. Colts quarterback Carson Wentz will be out 5 to 12 weeks with a football injury. He suffered the same injury in Philadelphia that caused him to be traded and a lot of time off the field. He is now in Indianapolis, and the season hasn't started yet. He's already on the injured list. Has to have a foot surgery, so he's continuously having problems with that same foot. I don't know. That's going to hurt him down in the future, I think. And so we're going to be looking and we're hoping and we're praying for Carson to have a speedy recovery and get back on the field. At the same time, at Colts training camp, Sam Linger has been a rookie. Sam Linger has been taking the first team snaps, so he's been doing pretty good as well. So I'm looking for this rookie to do good in the season of his debut in the preseason, and we just look for great things for them. Now, let's go all the way down to Louisiana. Can we go to Louisiana for a second? What the seafood, the Creole, the crab leg, everything you need is right there. But there's a team down there that's called the New Orleans Saints, and they're having drama after drama after drama right now. Not to mention wide receiver Michael Thomas, has just had surgery in June on his knee. He was able to report to training camp, and it left a bad taste in the front office mouth for the New Orleans Saints. And so everybody's been back and forth with tweets, Instagram messages. And so what we're doing right now is trying to see how everything's going to turn out with Michael Thomas and the New Orleans Saints. Also, with that controversy, the quarterback controversy, Sean Payton has not named a starting quarterback yet, but it's a big battle between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. We're going to see who outcome that and be the starter for week 1 in the regular season. I'm rooting for Jameis. I don't really just personally don't think a tight end is the NFL quarterback, but look at Tebow. I got you right there. Now, let's move on. Bills signed quarterback Josh Allen to an extension for $43 million. He's a great quarterback. I'm looking for the Bills to have a turnaround year this year and represent their conference very well. They have a good receiving core coming back, a good defensive package coming back. So big ups to Josh Allen on that, and hopefully he has a great year coming up. Now, this past weekend was the Hall of Fame, which kicked off the original football season. And we had some great people being inducted to this year's Hall of Fame. Shouts out to the class of 2021, Jimmy Johnson, Charles Wilson, Troy Polamalu, Isaac Bruce, Drew Pearson, Bill Coward, and our favorite guy, Peyton Manning. I watched a lot of the speeches, And I can tell you, man, I love Peyton Manning's speech, and I love Troy Polamalu's speech. It's very, very, very good to hear. I encourage you to go on YouTube anyway and hear their speeches. It was very uplifting and very motivational. So congratulations to these guys that was enshrined in the Hall of Fame this past weekend. You're forever our heroes and be forever thought of and will forever be talked about. Due to the fact of the Hall of Fame, we had a Hall of Fame game between the Cowboys and the Steelers. My Cowboys came up short, lost 16-3 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's all right. It was just the first preseason game. We had some rookies still getting the butterflies out. My Cowboys are going to do great things. I see Emo over there probably put her hair out her head, but it's all right because we're going to take care of business against Tampa Bay coming up the week one of the regular season. Speaking of my Cowboys, we will also put Mr. Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor. Owner Jerry Jones said that he will honor his request and make sure that he does good by the deal with putting Jimmy Johnson in the Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor. And speaking of my Cowboys, before I go any further, like Mr. Jackson said, when you get off this podcast tonight, just go sit down, eat your favorite meal, get your favorite drink, set your alarm clock so you can get up for work tomorrow and watch the Hard Knocks featuring my Dallas Cowboys. We're looking forward to the exciting things. And on this day in sports history, I bet you didn't know that Carl Lewis duplicated Jesse Owens' Olympic record by earning 4 gold medals. This happened on this day, August 10th in Los Angeles. And before I leave you and turn it back over to Mr. Jackson, I will always like to leave you with a final thought of the day. I thank you for tuning in to this segment of Prime Zone. But my final thought for you today is actions may not always bring happiness, but there's no happiness without action. Let me say that one more time. Actions may not always bring happiness, but there's no happiness without action. I love you. I'm your host, Kenny Primetime Williams. I love you. God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Mr. Jackson, back to you.
Appreciate your prime time with the latest news and updates that's going on in the sports world for NBA, NFL, you name it. I'm very excited about the upcoming season kicking off next month with the season opener, box office with the Cowboys, Tampa, that versus the Go Tom Brady. I'm looking forward to watching that season opener. I just want to see how the Cowboys going to do on the defensive side as well as the offensive side. Big shout out to Dak Prescott. Major comeback for him with that injury. I know that he also had a injury with his shoulder, whatever. I know they hyping it up like this and that, but you know how the Cowboys are. We're a very remarkable team. They're always going to do that to keep stuff going. So Emo had the latest news and update with the Q&A. Emo, take it with the latest news and updates around our world.
Hey, everybody. Are y'all ready? For all the parents out there, listen up. If you did not opt out of the child tax credit, then guess what? Your payments will be coming soon. Your second payment is due to hit your account Friday, August 13th. Now, the tax credits typically hit on the 15th of each month, but since the 15th is a Sunday, you're going to get that thing on Friday. So don't forget to spend it on the kids, y'all. Don't show out now. All right. On a serious note, guys, let's get serious here for a minute. All right. Y'all know I got to talk about it. COVID-19. All right. So here in Alabama, our COVID hospitalizations have topped 2,100. A month ago, we were at 247. So now we're at 2,100. So we are asking, every time I see people, I'm asking, are you vaccinated? If you're not, why not? It's your personal preference, but I'm going to ask anyway. In the meantime, in between time, mask up. Remember those hand washing practices that we were doing in the first wave and we were able to survive? Let's keep those things going. Remember to boost your immune system. When you're boosting your immune system, guys, make sure you do your research.
Yes.
Not everything is going to work for everybody. So make sure you take the time out of your schedule to check on the things that you may need. You may be doing something that's only going to help you if you have high blood pressure. You may be doing something that's only going to help you if you have diabetes. So guys, if you're healthy with no pre-existing conditions, check out what you need to be doing to boost that immune system. If you have pre-existing conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, things of that nature, hey, before we even get into the COVID talk, let's get those things in check. Let's get back on the healthy track. Let's do what we need to do to cancel out the high blood pressure and the diabetes. And then go forward with doing the things that you need to do to make sure that your body is safe for COVID. With COVID going rampant with the Delta variant that's out now, guys, you have to be extra careful for the babies. So the babies are unable to get the vaccine. Vaccine starts at age 12. So you got a lot that are not going to be vaccinated. Do the precautions that you need to do to predict the future. Our babies are our future. So let's make sure that we're doing the right thing. Let's social distance, wearing our masks, and just overall better hygiene practices. Because a lot of times COVID is spread through poor hygiene. If you feel sick, let's not go out and hang out with a group of people. Because guess what? You could possibly be transmitting and sending it back to someone's loved one. So keep that in mind. Also, military news, the Pentagon announces that they are going to be pushing to make the COVID-19 vaccines mandatory for all the troops by mid-September. So as I was recently in the recruiter's office with my daughter, as she has signed up with the Air Force Reserve. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so they were telling me that by September 19th, they got their memo saying that they have to get the vaccination. So, with that being said, there's going to be a lot of legal stuff going on with that because basically they're forcing vaccines. So at this point, you're going to start to ask the question, at what point does it violate your rights as an American, and how does it affect your constitutional rights? As of Monday, we had at least 74% of active duty personnel that were partially vaccinated, and 65% are fully vaccinated. Guys, do your research on the vaccine, figure out which vaccine is right for you. So in our just out here news, I thought this was very interesting. The governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, announced that he will be resigning. And this resignation comes after accusations of sexual harassment and inappropriate conduct from a number of women, including his former staffers and one current staffer. And his resignation is supposed to be effective in the next 14 days. So Como has been in politics for, I believe, 2 decades now. And now he's resigning. I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but there are large numbers of people resigning and stepping down due to sexual harassment and inappropriate conduct allegations. So, guys, I'm not going to say that it's because of the Me Too movement, but I'm going to say that people are now standing up and they're fighting back. So they're taking back their power, because a lot of times when you're sexually assaulted or harassed, it kind of takes away power from you, or you feel like you're hopeless and helpless. So people are taking back their power. So we're going to have to take our time, say prayers, and get these things in check. So anybody out there that's feeling like they're hopeless or powerless, I encourage you to seek out therapy, confide in good friends, do whatever you need to do to get that power back and to boost that self-esteem where it needs to be. Anyway, that's just my little soapbox feel for today. So listen, guys, I just want you to know I love you. Thank you all for taking the time to listen at the news. I know he's not pointing at that Cowboys head. What's wrong with him, y'all? Yes, I'm going to be a Cowboys hater. And yes, I am a Brady fan. So let's go, Bucks.
We'll see about
Back
that.
to you, Firm.
I appreciate you email the latest news and updates that's going on. But we're going to get to the meat. And I'm going to say the meat of the podcast tonight. We got a very exciting Q&A. Like I mentioned earlier, it's Redemption Tuesday. awesome testimony from a man of God, from his history, from the dark side to that marvelous light. Here to share his story. We'll get into some Q&A. You never know how the Most High gonna lead. So I just want to welcome Zoe. Zoe, welcome to Walking His Ways Impact Voice Podcast.
Hey family, how y'all doing, man?
All right, how
Glad
you doing?
to be here. Real glad to be here.
And we appreciate you once again taking that time out to be the schedule. I know you've done 16 hours today. I know how it is. I'll be doing 16 hours myself.
Yeah.
But the grind is real. But most importantly, I thank God for the many blessings. Because as men, we are providers. I want to say that again.
Yeah.
As men, we are providers. Before God gave Adam Eve, he gave man work. So work is part of our DNA. So we thank God for the spirit of work, to be able to put in work. You know, you don't work, you don't eat. So Zoe, welcome once again to the podcast. We're going to get some Q&A tonight. I know you have a very powerful testimony from homeless, drugs, prison, now that role of redemption, knowing that you know that God is real and that you want to let everybody know that you come in contact with that this God that we serve is truly real. So my first question to you is, who is Alphonzo?
Well, you know, the first thing that used to come to my mind, and let me say it truthfully, is that I didn't used to know. You know, it's just recently, over the last 8 or 9 years, that I come into the revelation of who I am. And let me be frank about that. You know, I was too skinny. I wore glasses. I talked too much. The point I'm trying to make, Furman, is that I never met the match in my head. I never added up in my head. So realizing today, first off, I'm a child of God. You know, I was created in His image. Today, I can say Alphonzo is just a man searching. I'm searching continuously, effortlessly, on how to reach people, how to be an impact to people. That's who Alphonzo is. You know, every time I talk to my guys, every time I try to I get in conversations with people, whether I'm at a restaurant or whatever, I want to leave an impact in their life. You know, not a negative impact. God, who was that guy? He was so, you know, but somebody that they think of later on down the line. You know, I've been fortunate enough to have people that waited on me at a restaurant go back, and it ain't right to do, and look at my check and find the name and inbox me. You know, I'm talking about nothing sexual or anything, just thank you. What you did, what you said, and that's who Alphonzo is today. You know, it hadn't always been that way, but that's who I am today.
And that's a great story, Zoe. Just you mentioned something. That they're not knowing who we were, not knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Searching. You know, all through life we search. We still searching. That ain't gonna never stop, because the Bible speaks about glory to glory. So we know we always transform each and every day. Just because we live yesterday, don't mean yesterday's gonna be the same as today. So we constantly always evolving in life. And my next question is, on that note, is I know you have a powerful story. And I know that your story ain't what it is today, but you went through that dark time. But my next question, I know you mentioned before, you have a statement come from nothing God. It's from you have a statement come from nothing God did, nothing. Well, go on, take that back, paraphrasing. You said you have a statement come from nothing. God did this. Let the audience know what you mean about that when you say that.
Well, that's like my favorite go-to line, you know, because I remember a song back when I was in the ministry, and I remember a song. It was "The God in Me," Mary, and I remember how that song went was what you see, and what the dollars and the cars and all these things, but they don't know what happens when I go home, you know, and me getting on my knees. And what I mean by, coming from nothing. Dude, we talking about a life of dereliction. We talking about a life that wasn't worth living. And when people see me, real quick, I do a couple. I hadn't did it recently, but I like to go down to the Salvation Army there in Mobile, Alabama, on Dolphin Street, and they have these different segments of the property, and the one part of the property that I always like to go to is the transient dorm. These guys are completely homeless. They come in every night, get a meal, wake up the next morning, they get a meal, and they out in the world, right? They're homeless. And I'll never forget, I pulled up on my little Zoom car and jumped out, maybe a little flashy, maybe to them. And I remember this bum, it happened 2 times. He would always say, man, I love that car and something. And another time I seen him there. And I say, hey, man, put your bags up and come ride with me, Furman. He was like, what? He was smelling and everything else, of course. And he got in the car, Furman, and we rode and hit a couple blocks, and I hit the motor for him. And he looked over at me. He said, I won't never be able to afford nothing like this. I said, why would you say that? Why would you say that? You don't know where I came from. And anyway, that story means I told him who I was and where I came from. That man is a counselor today at that center.
Wow.
At that center. And I cried with him. I pleaded with him. Look, give this place a chance. God is the creator of all of us. So it's no big eyes and little you in my eyes. It ain't no, this guy's here and I'm here. And I remember feeling as low as he did, walking and not having a ride and not $1 to get on the bus with because I done messed it all up, And that's the type of impact that God has did for me, and I'm able to give it back that way. I'm not stingy with it. And the first thing I don't want to do is lie about who I am. That's I think the best thing to me that I ever got from any of the ministers and part of my life now is that their transparency. Their transparency to me is what breaks yokes, and that's what I want in my life. That's what I give out. So when I say I didn't, came from nothing, God did this, I don't want to never take that credit. I don't never want to take that credit. You will never see me, Furman, and you know me, take the credit as I. No I here. It's him. And I always want to remember that. I've been up and down in life now. I've been pretty steady for a while now, but I know what it feels like to say I did this and God say, oh, you think so? And take his hand off of me and I'm back to square one or worse, 0. So they said he's a jealous God. So he want his credit, But that's what that means. Yeah.
Oh man, most definitely he wants his credit. We gotta give him his credit. That's why he always told us to acknowledge him. He always told us to commit our works unto him. And that's what it's all about. It goes back to the Most High. Everything we do in life goes back to him. Everything that's going haywire in our life goes back to him. There's no other way. You can't do no self-help. You can't do no motivational courses. It goes back to him. Goes back to repentance. Go back to being the center, the foundation of our life. And I know you went down a rough road. We all have. The Bible said all have sinned and fallen short. Yeah. We all have a background of a sin. You know what I'm saying? But you have a story. I know that leads to my next question. How did that dark road come about from being homeless, being on drugs, to doing time in prison? When you lost control, you know what I'm saying? We all lost control, but you went down that road of losing control. How did that start? When did it start? And when you made up your mind and say, hey, you know what? Enough is enough.
Right. It was early. And let me go all the way back, and I'm going to just shorten it up. But I don't know, it might have been 12 or 13 years old that I realized now, being able to peel the layers back, right? We're talking about in recovery. We're talking about recovery, learning how to live life again.
Most definitely.
It's layers to that. You don't just wake up one day, I was alcoholic, I was this, I was that, and then here I go. It's like layers. And every time a layer and God reveals something to me, I've learned to be able to accept it, that pain, that hurt. But I was 12 or 13 years old. I was molested. And I remember it wasn't nothing that I could do about that. You know, I was young. We had entrusted this individual, and he violated me, not intercourse wise, but just the whole touching and everything. See, I'm real frank, I'm real raw about it. This is what keeps me real. Right. But I remember feeling like I had no hope in the matter. I had no choice in the matter, you know, and it happened several times to me. And I remember drinking, you know, going in the refrigerator, stealing mom beer. Started off with stealing a cigarette here and there. And then it went from there. You know, I got into high school. Now I'm still feeling this shame and guilt. I heard Emo talk about that earlier. Real quick, shout outs to what she said about sexual abuse of any nature, any kind, whether it's children or whether you're an adult, it doesn't matter. It's abuse. So watch this. The emotional scar and turmoil that I was doing with myself, the tug of war in my life, you know, the shame and the guilt that I was feeling, I just immersed myself in that other world. Drinking, drugging, women, sex, and before I knew it, I was strung out. And it wasn't like strung out like you think of, but strung out in that lifestyle. You know, I was partying. I was doing everything I could to destroy myself. Literally, that's what I was doing, and that was my coping skill. The drugs and the alcohol really was my coping skill. And later on, what happened is that I went through. First off, my mom and them thought I was crazy, and I probably was some. But I went through therapists, going to psychiatrists, and they couldn't do nothing for me. Well, I wasn't a proclaimed addict or an alcoholic at that time. They just didn't know I was acting out, Furman. Just parents doing what they can. But I was holding a secret. You know, I was holding a secret.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And over time, what happened is that the alcohol and the drugs, that lifestyle became more of the norm for me. You know, losing jobs, couldn't stay on nobody's job no matter what I was making. Pillow to post with different women. Never had nothing that was substantial. I get a little moment of clarity and go get something that I considered, you know, achievement and lose it immediately. You know, self-destruction every time. Self-sabotage is what I call it. It's the real thing. You got to look it up. Self-sabotage. But I think over time what happened, now mind you, let me say this. I'm going to show you how God worked though. Out of all these things I was doing, had gotten shot, been, you know, shot, did what I did, been to prison and all these things. I never stopped serving. I never stopped going to church. I never stopped. Now I might be sitting all the way up in the balcony or in the back somewhere, but I never stopped wanting to be a part of. You know, I didn't. I never stopped wanting. And like I said, I could been out on a bench for 2 or 3 days, and come Sunday, permit. I got to drag myself in somebody. So that part never died.
Right.
That part growing up from a child and seeing my grandparents and we going to church and whatever, it never died. Now, it was times where I couldn't go. I was incarcerated or whatever else had happened in my life. But I never stopped being a part of the fellowship. You know?
And that's it. And you open up something there. You said you was dealing with that secret of what you went through as a child.
Yeah.
Men deal with stuff on a regular. All men have dealt with something. Can't say you never did something. But we was never taught to open up. Men, we don't communicate. Women communicate, but men don't communicate. You know, we was taught you put on this image, you this tough man, you this tough guy. You know, you shouldn't be. If you cry, you gay. You cry, you're a punk. You're a boy. You don't need to cry. But that stuff that's in us that we don't know how to express. You know, if you tell somebody what you went through, they gonna label you as something else. So to that point of communicating, And
Wow. Yeah.
dealing with all that stuff. And that really would have come from not knowing how to deal with it, not knowing how to challenge that, but to say, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
When did that breaking point came when you went from the drinking to the sex to all that stuff to the point you say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm taking my life back.
I was in prison. Berman, and I had an epiphany, more or less. I was laying there on that rack, and I'd been going to prison and institutions since I was like 13. I remember what happened to me at 9 or 10 or 11 or whenever that was, to when I started drinking and stealing alcohol, 12, 13. I was in Mount Meg prison. One of the youngest ever had been through it at that time. So hold on. I was laying on that rack, right? And I'm asking God aloud, not inwardly, aloud. What do I need to do? I'm tired. I am tired. And a voice came back to me and said, nothing. Just be who I say you are. And when I heard that, I knew the word. I knew what that meant. I knew I was created in this image. I knew I was more than enough. I knew I was, see, that's the thing what you just said. As men, I feel like our masculinity is in the way sometimes. Our egos are in the way sometimes. Right. And my freedom came that night when I was naked. I said, look, I'm tired. I can't do this again. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And I need to know, what do I need to do? And he said, nothing. And this is what I got. When he said, be who I say you are, it was the guy that's too skinny, the guy that talks a lot, the guy that wears glasses. See, he created me in this image. You follow me? See, I wanted to be everything else. Bigger muscles, this, that. All these different images we see the world acknowledging and create men should look like, Even our women do it to us. They do it. They don't do it intentionally, but they do it to us. We do it to women, right? We look at these things and these images, and that's what we portray on people, and that's what we absorb. I know as a man, I wanted to be everything the woman in front of me wanted me to be right then. So if she was hood, I'm hood. If she was smart, now I'm smart. We are. I was a chameleon in that sense of I wanted to just be loved. I wanted to fit in, right? So when that moment happened for me that night, laying on that prison rack, I cried. I wept all night because I felt freedom. That's what I was trying to tell you. I felt freedom. I felt like, okay. And that was the first glimmer of hope that I could do something different with my life. Out of all the times I tried, all the facilities, all the institutions that I had went through from 12 years old to then, that was the first moment of hope and clarity and confidence that the God in me and I could do this. I'm serious. And I haven't turned back. I have not turned back, and it's been a magical journey for me. It really has. I cannot even get to start and explain. And you know me, that I'm not even talking about the blessing part of it, monetary or anything like that. Right. I'm talking about what it feels like inside. That's what I'm talking about. See, I've always been able to try to keep a piece of job and make good money and, mess it up. But that's not what I'm talking about. The freedom and the blessings and the feelings I have are inwardly. Going to sleep knowing I'm doing the right thing for the right reason. Working all day and being on this podcast, and maybe this will help somebody, if nobody but myself, talking about it. It's something magical about that. It is.
And it's truly a blessing and honor to acknowledge the Most High, in everything. Yeah. Knowing that He brought you from nothing to something. And you said something. It was not about the material. See, people get blessings mixed up with the houses, the car, and the money, but the peace, the joy. Yeah. What I'm saying? The righteousness, the meekness, the humbleness. What I'm saying? The peace that bypasses all understanding. and not to the it be to the point where God said with Solomon in Proverbs, you know, when our ways pleases God, He even make our enemies be at rest with us.
Wow.
You know, that rest, and that's what He want. You know what I'm saying? That casting his cares, our cares upon Him, He care for us. You know, He don't sleep no slumber. So while we up worrying, when He said He don't sleep no slumber, so He know I don't see all. And that's what it's all about, that rest in Him. You know, He said, take His yoke. His yoke is light. You know what I'm saying? He wants us to rest in Him, trust in Him, not trusting the job, don't trust in the business, don't trust in your significant other, but all that trust in Him. You know, you hear people say David was a man after God's own heart, but David was. David seek God on a regular basis. You know, he knew where he knew where his help came from.
Wow. Yeah.
We know where our help come from. And we know our help come from Him. It don't come from the job. It don't come from the podcast. It don't come from nothing. All this help comes from Him. So we got to go back to the source. So I know you're on this road. I know you was on this road of redemption from that life to that life, but you had mentioned something earlier, and I just love how God's taking us to a whole nother direction. Openness. The Bible said that Adam and Eve was naked, and they was not ashamed. Wow. You know, God wants us to be naked. I'm not talking about when you naked, you expose everything. But men who deal with struggles, men who deal with things in their childhood, things they were exposed to. Whether you had a father who was abusive to the mother, you know, all types of stuff plays in our mind, but we don't know deal with that. You hear people talk about generational curses, but I know you being a husband, you being a father, when did you break that generational curse from what you went through your childhood to say, you know what, enough is enough. When I went through my childhood, I want to make my family life better. So when did you break that generational curse?
It's probably been about 8 years, maybe close to 9, Furman, and I started to ask and seek out God's direction with dealing with my children, because my biggest fear was, first off, what happened to me happening to them, right? And I wanted to expose them to the naked truth of what the world was. And see, a lot of times as parents, I'll say even with me, it's close their eyes, don't let them see that. You know, I started to look at it in a different, way. Like, wait a minute, why am I going to do them like this and don't tell them the truth when that's what's out there? You follow me?
It is.
So I wanted my children to not be exposed, but to have some type of wisdom, some type of awareness on what they're facing, right? And we're talking about everything from race to whatever it was that I felt like could impact their lives negatively, you know. And on the flip side, what was out there positive, right? So I know for me and my family, I have 0 positive influences in my family. Mother, father, I keep going. 0. And I remember what it was like, Furman, as a young boy going over friends' houses, and their mom would say, hey Zoe, hey Casey, how was your day? And I'd ask I remember one occasion I asked one of my best friends, I said, your mom talk to you like that every day? Like, she ain't just doing that because I'm here, you know? And so when you look at my page, all I got is my children on it. Like, that's what I pour into. And I believe that generational curse, such a thing is that I changed that direction by showing them something different. Because we are the blame for where they're going. That's what I feel. I took responsibility as a father to be an example and not just a piece of meat or throw some money here, but I wanted to be an example of what they should look at or look for, whether it was my girls and a man or or whether it was my boys and being a father or a productive member in society. He's got good work ethics. I wanted my children to see me in that way. But more importantly, I wanted them to be aware of what's out there. So I started things and telling them, like my daughters, for instance, all three of them, they would be 1 and 2 years old riding with me. Keep your legs crossed, baby. Hey, don't jump over there on his lap like that. That ain't how you do it. Don't. So it was things that I knew that potentially could open the door for them to be exposed to these type of things, like my daughters, I'm saying, that I gave them the knowledge on very early. Don't do that. When you sit down, cross your legs. When you go down, it was things that I knew, and that to me is breaking that generational curse, because the curse for us was just, we didn't communicate what you said. There wasn't no open line of communication. What they said went. I could not go to my parents about nothing. The sexual immorality happened to me. I mentioned that back when I was like 18, and my mom, she went all the way off the chain. And it was like, my girls, I tell my 16-year-old all the time, we just spent 4th of July in Atlanta. And one of the things I told her in the hotel, and me and her had a very intimate, very loving moment. And I was sharing some things with her, and I was talking to her some things on this line right here we're on. And and I said, if any to you, I want you to know that you can come to me. You know, I want you to know that I'm here. You will never be the great. That's breaking that curse. What I'm saying, you know.
Yeah.
Being there for my children. Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, that open line of communication. You know, growing up, we was never open to talk to our parents about certain things until later on in life, you tell your parents, I was exposed to such and such growing up, such and such. But now, allowing your children to come talk to you about any and everything.
Yeah.
Because we know in the world we live in, everything's out in the open. Instagram, Facebook,
right.
Snapchat, you name it. Everything's out on, from racism to sexual immorality to same sex. That stuff is out in the open. And parents, I'm not a parent, but parents, educate your children on life. It's not, don't look at the school. So that's the problem. We want to look at the school. The school is not going to teach them on the certain much, but they're going to really get the unadulterated, X-rated version of life. When you break everything down from the good and the bad, say, okay, if you have premarital sex, this might happen to you. You may get a full-blown AIDS. You can end up with a baby out of wedlock. Being realistic, being transparent when it comes to our children, expose them to the good, the bad, all that stuff that goes on. Like, I like what you said, you had that time with your daughter to let her know what's out there, but preparing her. I heard Herm Edwards say the best thing a man could give his children is wisdom and his last name. He said that's the greatest gift. That's the greatest gift a man can give to his children. Because as you being the head and being the leader, you share that wisdom with your children, and that leads them when they say, okay, I'm letting you know what's going on. Now you leaving them with that short to say, okay, Daddy told me if I do this, that's gonna happen. I'm glad that you doing that, because we need more men like that to talk about more things like that. Also, that communication. I know you're a married man. How did you open up to your wife about your past to where you at today? I know that could be tough for any man to let your wife know, hey, when I was a child, I was exposed to this, I was exposed to that. But God gave you that woman to help comfort you, nurture you, love you back to life. That helped me. So explain to the men out there who may listen in the future to have that open line of communication with your wife, your queen.
I think that's one of my gifts of being raw. I remember having this shame and guilt even a part of my life early on in my relationship with with my wife and everything. And I went back out one time and really got messed up, drinking, drugging. You remember, remember that. And I remember she asked me, Furman, why do you keep doing this? What is it? And we talking about, $45 hour job at Airbus. This is where I've been going with this. And I remember laying there on the floor. I was on the floor in my guest bedroom, and I was crying, and I was just like, and of course you're embarrassed. You done been out there and you done got another DUI and this. And I remember telling her everything. And I just felt so relieved. So I felt like a weight was taken off of me. And I believe that, since you're bringing that up, that night was the beginning of my redemption in that area and that openness. Because if you could be open with a woman or a woman be open with her mate, a male, that's one of the greatest gifts, is when they know you and still accept you, still love on you anyway. Don't throw it back up in your face and don't use it against you, And that's been one of the powerful things in my life, and it helps me today being honest. What you said, going to your wife, going to your husband, going to your significant other, and talking to him or her. They might be sitting there wondering what's going on with her or him. Why are they like this? Well, go talk to them. Tell your husband what you went through as a child, if that's the problem, if that's some of the root. And I think so many times in relationships, we come in so broken and dismembered,
Right. Yeah,
and we looking for an individual to put us back together, and we a jigsaw puzzle just broke apart. And the clay is us, and the potter's hand is God, and we don't realize that no human being has that power to shape us.
Right.
So I go into these relationships, not just even with my wife. I've went in these relationships looking for something they couldn't give me. Right? I go in there broken, busted up, beat up, bruised, handicapped, and I want them. I'm relying on them to put me back together.
Yep.
Right? And it never happened. Now, they can temporarily put a Band-Aid on that hole, but eventually you're going to bleed out. It's like, I remember her asking me that, and I remember telling the truth, the sexual immorality and everything. I said, this is what happened to me. I had other cousins that it happened to by this individual. We didn't all linked up to talk. I'm broken. I remember the words I used. I'm broken. I was ashamed and embarrassed, and I drank my life. I used drugs, and it just, I don't know. I did not stop immediately from drinking, but I remember the feelings I would get afterwards, like this overwhelming feeling of, why did you just do that? Or it was something happening in the conscious area, in the subconscious area. I'm sorry, and I remember after a while it wasn't working no more. The drinking wasn't working no more. The drugs wasn't working anymore, and I stopped having an excuse to use them. That's what happened for me. I stopped. Once I expose myself, once I get naked, you have zero excuses. Watch this real quick. What I found out about myself is that I love being the victim. I loved it. Poor old me. This is what happened to me. Poor old me. They didn't do this for me. Poor old me. And that victim mentality is cancer. It's a cancer. And I used that for so long. What happened? And now it's my platform. Those same things that I was a victim at, I'm victorious over. It's a platform in my life. I'm not perfect. Lord knows, Jesus. I don't even want to go there. But I know today that I'm better than I was yesterday. Let me do this for you real quick. I got a mentor that we talk on a regular basis. And I remember going to Lee and I was like, look, man, I'm feeling this type of way today. He was like, dude, you 6-figure job. He was, you know, he's talking to me. And he said, I tell you what. He said, start comparing your life to your life. And I was like, what? Compare my life to my life. And when he broke it down, he said, look back on where you are now and compare that. And I was like, I was blown away because everything I was doing up to that point, I was comparing my life to you, Berman. I was comparing my life to TDJ. I was comparing my life to John Gray. I was comparing my life to every man that I came in contact, whether it was physically or not. I was comparing, and I didn't add up. You follow me, my brother? Wow. I did not add up. And I had started that vicious cycle over my life. Did not even realize it. I did not even realize it.
Man, that's deep.
Isn't that something? Compare your life to your life. He said, don't ever compare, because he got upset when we calling him, Bourbon. I could tell he was aggravated. Hey, he said, man, you making all this money, you doing this. He said, I'll tell you what, compare your life to your life. He said, how are you doing today compared to? And I was just like, and look, I began to cry. I understood what God was saying through this brother. I said, why I am blessed beyond measure, beyond any kind of, and I took that off my plate. That comparison spirit, you know, comparing what you're riding in, what I'm driving, all that crap, man. It's just a distraction. But to your question, I'm gonna simplify it. Being open and honest is the best gift you can give yourself.
Most definitely.
Being open and honest are the best gifts I ever gave myself. Being open and honest. Despite my shortcomings, character defects, or flaws, I still walk in them. But being honest and open are the best gifts I ever gave myself.
And it is. And I love when Paul said, walk in the spirit, so I won't fulfill the lust of the flesh.
Wow.
And that's my prayer all the time. And I ask God, help me to walk in the spirit so I won't feel the lust of my flesh. Because you got to think about it. And let's just be real. It's a battle going on every day. Spirit, flesh, good, evil. It's a battle going on every day. Do temptation comes up? Yes, it does. But it's how we react to those temptations. You know what I'm saying? I've never been that type of dude, though, to blame the devil for anything. The Bible says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, because they rejected it. So I don't blame the devil. That's that blame game. When something comes up, oh, the devil busy, the devil. No, that comes from that sin nature. Paul says no good thing come out the flesh. I love Paul. Paul was real. Paul said, "Oh, wretched man that I am." He didn't look at his neighbor,
anybody else.
The Bible didn't say what he was dealing with, but he said, when I do good, evil present. Wow. So it's something in him that he was wrestling with. You know what I'm saying? It's going to a whole nother level tonight. It's something in us that we wrestle with.
Right.
I'm talking about when everybody gone, the wife gone, children gone.
Yeah, man.
That inner thing that's in you, you wrestle with. Whether it's your sexuality, whether it's anger. We always battle with something. That's why I understand what Paul said, walk in the spirit so you can feel the lust of the flesh. How you handle this situation. How you react when somebody says something to you. Do you overreact? You know, we dealing with that demon, that procrastination, that self-doubt.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We deal with all that stuff, that laziness. You know, if you see my post, the spirit of you telling you, hey, get your lazy butt up and go to work. That feeling side of you tell you, man, we can do it tomorrow. But it's a battle in us. We're going through a battle. And I'm not talking about, you hear people in the church always say, no, you're a hater. No, it's us. You mentioned that before we got on the air tonight, so we are our own fault. It's not the white man, it's not the Chinese man, it's not no, it's our fault. You know, when they started the Black Lives Matter movement, and you mentioned this, we killing each other. Why are we not standing up to the fatherless home? The Bible speaks about the fatherless home. We have more babies born out of wedlock within the Black community. And I see people on social media, congratulations, girl. Okay, but she had a baby out of wedlock. What if then men need to be more fathers? What about being a husband instead of being a baby dad? And that's our community. But the law enforcement of another color do something. Oh, he's racist. Black Lives Matter. But look at our homes. We have more fathers home than anything. That's why I respect men as like you, Zoe and Kenny. You at home with your family. You're not on social media playing like you single. You show your wife. You show the world that, hey, I'm a happily married man. We need to see more images like that because you got a lot of men get on social media, play like they single, knowing you got a whole family at home. So I love the trans. So I mean, it's going to a whole nother level tonight.
Let me say this. I've wanted to believe this. Like, I'm battling with a lot of things in my life right now. Let me be transparent about it. And I can say this, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm battling with, it's inside of my marriage. Let me be frank with something. And I'm going to show you how the enemy is attacking me in this marriage and situation. I'm a workaholic, okay? I went from an addict personality of drinking and drugging and I've always worked, and but now all I do is work. And I've gotten to the phase in my life to where I'm looking for an out now because I'm struggling. I'm really struggling again in some areas. But one of the things I'm saying, reason why I'm saying this is that I don't want to never portray this perfect person. That's not what I want to do here. I want to be open about my demons. I want to be transparent about my shortcomings and character defects. Because let me say this, Furman, that's what I have to do in order to keep going forward. If I keep what I have in front of me, that's the problem, then I can keep focusing on that and God can keep using me. So I want that to be understood. I'm nowhere near perfect, man. And I appreciate the whole thing about you talking about us with our families. That is very important to me. That's one of the main reasons I wake up every day and go so hard, But on another note is like, I got to say something about what we talked about before the podcast did, and we prayed and everything. It's not just about being open and transparent about my life. It's what we talked about earlier. It's about our lives as a Black community. That's one of the things I was talking about the other day on the little thing I did on Facebook. We have to stop lying and believing the hype. Let me say this.
Right.
We talked about it earlier about this. Let me say this. We talked about it earlier about this. Me, Al, yes, Mr. Sharpman, we're friends. Other guys in that area, we're friends. And one of the things that they don't always like that I say is this. We are the problem. But until we admit that, keep telling our children, watch out for the white police. Keep telling our children, those are not the problem. That's not the problem. We are the problem. And the lies and the deception that we use against one another, to me, is the problem. I've never met a race and been around a race that hate each other for prevailing.
Yeah.
Most races going to help the next man up. But
that's true.
Somebody buying a house, doing something positive, it's never that impact as it is when you see that white cop kill somebody or a judge give a guy 50 years for drugs. Everybody want to speak out. But and I say this because I've been on that side of the fence where I sold the drugs. I was out there. We was the problem, man. It wasn't that white cop riding through my neighborhood. Now, did he jump out and chase us? Yeah. We were standing on the corner selling drugs, though. So I'm saying my people that got killed and shot didn't get killed and shot from white cops or cops, period. we were the killers. And that's another part about being open and transparent and about healing. You know, I want my children, my daughter real quick. She called me. She was around the George Floyd incident, brother. She called me and she was, oh man, she was just ecstatic. She was crying and, oh, I don't want to go to this office. I feel like killing one of these white folks. And I said, hold up, 1 minute. Why are you tripping like that? What did you see with that white cop kneeling on that brother that got you more ecstatic than the 600 some murders in Chicago this year, black on black? You follow where I'm going?
Yeah.
What got you that uproared than the 13 or 14 unsolved murders in Pritchard this year? Or hold up, the 7 black women that was killed this year from the hands of their mate. What got you more ecstatic and crazy of seeing that right there? It's because we have been programmed, and I believe it's systematic. I just believe it's systematic. I'm sorry. I know we're going different places, but I just believe it's systematic. You know, it's bred in us, you know, and it keeps us from really focusing on the real problem. You know, and I don't know. I get so upset when I hear us talk like that. Now, yes, Black Lives Matter, we need it. Yes, George Floyd, what happened to him? Yes, he needed. But what I'm saying is that what about the 600 and some murders unsolved? Over 30, some of them were children under 12 in Chicago this year. Wow. It might not be 600, it might be 3. I can't remember. I stayed up on the stat, but it was a huge amount of people killed in the last year, and I think 30 some were kids under 12. Unsolved.
And it's by us.
And it's like by us. And I'm like, why ain't we going crazy about this? Hold up, Al. Why ain't we marching to Chicago? Well, you know, why aren't we marching to Washington to do something about the crime rate in Detroit or Pritchard for that matter, or home? Why aren't we doing that? You know, and as soon as we make a big statement about a white cop and this, we got the whole nation ready to ride. What about all these other black people that are dying at the hands of other black people though?
And it's every day.
Can we get together with that? Can we do something about that? You seen the other post I posted last week? When are Black lives going to matter to black people? Black people, when is it going to matter to us?
Yeah,
you know,
we
so
take our own stuff out.
I don't know, man. We're going somewhere with that, and I mean, I don't know. It's painful to me when I start to see the publicity done with something like George Floyd and all these other black. And I'm not saying it wasn't needed. It was definitely needed. We needed to see that. And what happened to the cop, it needed to happen. But my point being is that why ain't we out here broadcasting all this other crime happening against our black women and men?
Every day. And it's every day.
Black women and men. Why ain't we doing it? So,
right. I remember one year before I left, when I was still living in Mobile, you had a lot of black women dying to domestic violence.
You remember that?
Black men. And it
like
was
6 or 7.
Yeah, and it was like ongoing. And like I said, you know, me being in corrections, I'm seeing these guys down there. Okay, you took this, and they were beautiful women. You look on the news, these were some beautiful women.
Yeah.
And this joker took her life.
I knew several of them personally. Yeah, several of them personally. Yeah.
But we're not talking about that. But soon, a white officer do something. Oh, Black Lives Matter. Okay, but why are black men? Why are we killing our black queens for? You know what I'm saying?
And each other. And they
kill each other. But we don't, like you said, we don't talk about that. We don't address that. But I'm glad to see me and as you in your household, take care of business, preparing your children for their lives. Yeah. The Bible says, "Good man leaving heirs for a children." And when we look at that, we talk about we look at material things, but a spiritual inheritance, a righteous inheritance, God's laws to pass on to your children. We supposed to be ministering to our children. It's not up to the pastor. The man will be ministering to his children. He supposed to be spreading the word of God with his children, sitting down, having Bible study. Let's get with the white. Hey, man, let's have Bible study today. Let's study the word. Get God back involved in our regular day life because we got God out of everything. So that's why we're going through all this hell, because we took God out of it. But now God is calling us back in that, you know what, God, we have to humble ourselves. The Bible says we should humble ourselves, seek his face, and heal our land. And that's where we at right now. It's going back to the Most High, going back to his way, walk in his ways. So I believe once we fully go back to God, and I ain't talking about no sometimes, I ain't talking about you be in church, they play the music, oh, I love the Lord, and all this other stuff. You sliving all over the place. Soon you leave, you going right back to that mess again.
Yeah.
Ain't no change, ain't no conviction, ain't no fruit of repentance, but being real with God. And I remember I heard a guy say this. Once you be real with God, he will come sit with you. David was real with God, and he said with him, we got to learn how to be real with God. And when we learn, I'm going to say I ain't talking, we have to learn how to be real with God. When we learn how to be real with God and get out our own way and say, God, I need you, he'll heal our land. We just being hard-headed children right now.
Amen. You're right. I know I'm one.
We all live. We all live. But he's still speaking to us because God's still speaking to us. He's still getting out to any patient. God is so patient, but what we gonna do when that patient runs out?
Children. We're children. You know what I told somebody one time when they were asking me, I was doing did a meeting over there at that Salvation Army I was telling about on Dolphin Street. And this guy was like, man, you know, I've been waiting on God. I was waiting on God, and I said, listen, man, God's waiting on you, bro. You ain't waiting on him.
Right.
Everything that you waiting on him for has already happened in the spirit realm. All you got to do is believe it, and it'll materialize itself in the natural, in the carnal realm. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, that's faith 101. It's already done. Here's another thing I got to throw at you. Man, listen, man, I got some good ones, but I was at a excuse me, a leadership conference, and it was a whole bunch of big wigs in there. And I remember this young man talking about activating faith and how he went to God and learned how to pray. He stopped asking God for something and instead started thanking him for it. I was like, and this brother was like, and it was some heavy hitters in the room. You know, it was some heavy hitters in Mobile in that room, and everybody was compelled because it was like it was fresh anointing, but it was the reality of what faith was. Right. He said, I told God, thank you for that new car. Thank you for that. He said, I stopped asking him, like you know, and I even was guilty of it at the time. I would pray in pleading for him. God, please, Jesus, please, Lord. You know, and he said, God don't hear that rhetoric. You know, he don't hear that crap.
He don't. He really don't.
Table, like, because we probably was all guilty of that type of praying.
Yeah.
Lord, please, you know, you just shut in, and everybody all night just, please, God, please move in this house, please. And that young brother had me so on fire, man. I'm talking about, I was just like, and I wanted to know, where did you get this from? He said, that's faith 101. He said, we supposed to pray in the sense of, thank you. Thank you for moving, Lord. Thank you for doing this already. And it ain't even occurred here because it already has there. That little young brother had me, man. Man, we going all over the place, man. We going all over the place.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I mean, because you pinpoint on something. I know we're pressing for time here. The disciples.
Yeah.
They asked Jesus, teach us how to pray.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, we go with all these other prayers, and if you hit on something. Our prayer won't get, and we doing all the same repetition, we saying the same thing over and over again.
Over and over, man.
And we've been taught this, and he said, this is how we pray. And a lot of people think that don't work, but that prayer still works to this day.
Yeah.
We say, our Father, which art in heaven. We give him reverence before we go into our request. Our Father,
right.
which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We reverence his name. Thy kingdom come. Thy
Yeah,
will be done on earth as
that's
it
right.
is in heaven. So we asking for his will to be done on a regular basis. That still stands today. But we go out
I
there
agree.
to, oh Lord, come with me, Lord, come see about it. All we have to do is go. He said, it's written in red. If you read the King James, whatever version of the Bible you read,
Yeah,
it's
that's
written in
right.
red. It don't change. This is how we pray. Try it. It do work because we ask
That's
for
right.
his will to be done on a regular basis.
That's
Give us
right.
this day our daily bread.
Yes,
Everything we need is in there within that prayer. So then what he told us to do in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his
wow,
righteousness. And all
wow.
these things, what? Won't be added unto us. Don't take
Added
no
to
thought
us.
for the tomorrow should
Yeah,
take care of itself. That still stands today in 2021.
wow.
We,
That's
as
right.
human beings, we want to try to, oh, that's old. You hear people say, oh, that was done back in that time. Times have changed.
Mm,
The Bible said he don't change. We
wow.
do. He don't. His principles still work. We just have to apply his principles.
That's
Because
right.
I remember back on social media when Facebook came out, you seen a lot of people post Bible scriptures all the time. But now people posting quotes on what they pastors say. We
Yeah,
got to go back to the landmark. We got to go back to, and I'm talking about me too included. We got to go back to the blueprint. We got to go back to that old landmark, and that's the Most
that's
High.
right.
And I just want to share that. Before we get off the air, I know you did 16 hours, my brother, and I know how it is.
No,
Before
I'm good. I'm good. I'm energetic right now. We can go for another 5.
Oh man, I
Always a
appreciate
blessing
you.
to be a part of and not apart from, Furman. It's really
Almost.
everybody on here just being a part of and not apart from, man. I mean, I can't explain it to anybody that hasn't experienced darkness on the level that I have. The hopelessness, the loss, the just complete dereliction in life. And to be able to be a light in anybody's life, to be or even worthy or even feel worthy to be here right now. You know, I'm ecstatic. I mean, I'm tired, but I'm ecstatic and I'm grateful. I'm humbled to be here, and anything I can do to serve, I'm willing. You know, I'm willing to do it.
Absolutely.
And that's what's up right there. And I appreciate you once again. Before we get off the air, do you have any final remarks you want to leave to the listening audience? Because it's going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel, Walking His Ways Impact Voice. Also, big shout out. We up to 92 subscribers now on our YouTube page. So big shout outs to everybody who's been subscribing to the page. Big shout out to our listening audience that's tuning in tonight as well. We thank y'all from Mrs. Johnson to we have somebody else, B that's online with us tonight. Big shouts out to you. Thank you for taking time to be the schedule. Also, big shouts out to our co-host Danielle. She wasn't with us tonight. She had a death in her family. Her father passed a couple of days ago. So, send your prayers out to her as well. So Zoe, you have any final remarks you want to leave with the listening audience tonight?
I want to leave my stamp. I looked up what legacy meant and what it meant to me, and I believe that I want to be a contributor to generations to come. You know, I want to be able to be impactful and break generational curses. And I believe by being open and transparent and honest with who you are, what we've been through, I think it's the best gift you can give yourself. And I think it's the best gift we can give the world is by being open and honest about who we are. You know, because people, all they see is this platform. All they see is this glamour and glitz. We live and buy houses or whatever, like you said. I want to be a contributing factor, to the future of generations. I really do. That's my legacy. I want to impact people, especially our youth. I want to impact them.
Man, and that's what's up right there. I remember I had a conversation with a friend of mine. It was a friend of mine like before I moved here, and we just had a conversation. And I was like, if we end up to being together, if God will that we won't end up being together, I always want to be an example. That we be an example in our household. Be an example before our children that even though we be on this platform on every Tuesday night, you want to be real in what you do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, man, this brother, he gets on here, he talks about this stuff, but this brother actually live this stuff in behind the closed doors. And that's always been my thing, especially if I get married, have a family. I always want to be an example that, hey, when my wife sees me, she can tell people, yeah, that is Furman. The way Furman is on this podcast, that's how he is at home. And I always want to be like that. You don't want to be that fake, that phony, that hypocrite. Behind closed door, you talk good, but behind closed door, you beating on your wife, or you doing all kind of weird, perverted stuff, man. I ain't got time for all that stuff. Because the Bible said we deceive our own self. The Bible said we deceive our own self. I don't deceive nobody. I deceive my own self. So I believe in being real. It's a process.
It is.
Be real with yourself. This whole podcast tonight, the whole title sums it up. Be real with yourself on a regular basis.
Be real with yourself, man. That's awesome.
That's all you have to do, man. Be real with yourself. You got a problem, acknowledge that problem, get it fixed. There's nothing wrong with getting help. Get help. There's nothing wrong with that. Humble yourself. That's all we got to do, humble ourselves. Go to God. Tell God, hey, God, I'm struggling in this area. I'm tired. Take that taste from me.
That's the only way he can help you. If you
real.
if you give God half the problem, you're gonna get half the solution.
Right. That's why the Bible tells us. Go ahead.
That's right.
Remember, the Bible said, offer our bodies up as a living sacrifice, hold us up in Him. We got to give ourselves fully over to God, our mind, our body, everything.
Yeah.
Give it over to Him. Be real. That's the whole thing, man. It's all about being real with ourselves. The Bible said we deceive our own self. We don't think we're fooling people. We fooling our own self. So,
amen.
Man, big shouts out to you, Zoe. Big shouts out to Emo, Kenny, Johnson, Miss B that tuned in with us tonight. Man, we want y'all to have a great night. We're going to be back next Tuesday night. Same bat time, same bat channel. For those that don't know, that's from the Batman TV show. Also, if you're a Cowboys fan, tune in to Hard Knocks tonight. It starts at 9 o'clock.
Right now.
So I'm finna ready to watch Hard Knocks. I'm finna enjoy my night off. I did my job with the podcast. Now I'm finna enjoy my night. Now I'm finna watch my TV in the comfort of my townhouse.
Right.
Peace and quiet.
Hey, can I say this before I get off?
Go ahead.
Shout outs. My first time on the podcast. I'll be back. Mr. Kenny, Miss Emo, the listeners, shout out to y'all, man. We couldn't do this without y'all. I'm definitely going to be back on here. I want to hear everything that's coming out next. Invite me in. I'm gonna be inviting people. I'm gonna just really. I want this to go wild for you guys, and I think the listening world out here need to hear what you got going. Hear what you guys got going on. Really.
Oh man, most definitely, man. All glory to the Most High, man. Thank you again. But like I said, you have a great night. I'm about to get ready to watch Hard Knocks.
All right.
Same here.
Y'all good.
So y'all be great, man. Be blessed. Be unstoppable. Be iconic. Cowboy Nation all day, every day. Cowboy Nation in my house all day, every day.
All right, y'all.
Tom Brady's the GOAT. Of course, I get Tom Brady, but it's all about Dak Prescott. See y'all next time. Peace.
Next time, man. Peace out.
Bye, guys.
Bye.